Hey everyone, we're going to wait here just a little bit, a couple minutes for people to roll in. Making sure we're good to go. All right, we'll start in 60 seconds. Doing a live video because I'm a bit crunched for time, but we'll stay live here for a half hour or so, go over technical analysis, and we'll see if we have any time for any questions after that. So a couple things to note. Right now the S&P 500 is pulling back, so obviously it's a great sign that Bitcoin is going up, and we're not seeing that correlation that we've had many times over the past month plus. As SPY drops, it's not a big drop, it's only down 0.5%, but obviously Bitcoin's up at the high of the day, so we're not seeing that correlation, which is a good sign. All right, let's just get into it. So first things first, we've got Bitcoin making a bull break on the daily time frame. We had the bull break of the tightening range happen first. Then we had a little bit of a stutter step where we didn't see continuation right away. But now we obviously have that continuation. And the most important factor for me was the bull break of 9,475 to break the lower high pattern. So that has now led us to setting a very clear weekly higher low and making our way back up towards the weekly resistance. This weekly consolidation, very similar to the S&P 500 and a ton of different assets. And all of those assets are breaking bullish. S&P 500 already headed to higher highs, and we've got ETH now already heading to those higher highs. So it's now Bitcoin's turn to break 10,400, 10,500, very key resistance level. And if those levels break, it will be significant for the bigger picture. Let's pull up the monthly time frame and see what that would look like. And that is our lower high. Significant dump on the COVID fear, significant bounce, but rejected from resistance. So I won't call it a monthly trend change if that resistance level breaks, but it will break the lower high pattern, which again would be notable for the longer term. So I made a decision yesterday, and it had a lot to do with gold and silver and the breakout that we're seeing over there. I've pretty much been in diversification mode for my assets over the last year and a half. First, I went to property, then I went to some physical metals, and now I'm increasing a bit more in cryptocurrency as far as a no-touch position. I had cryptocurrency at about 1.5% of my total net worth in a no-touch diversification, just hold it position. And fortunately, after a really good July trading stocks, that percentage of my net worth dropped. So it was more like 1% of my net worth. So I'm ramping that back up a little bit to maybe 2.5% of my net worth in a no-touch position. And the reason is I like this setup for the narrative to favor Bitcoin from here. We've got silver and gold, FOMO and euphoria hitting the mainstream. And I'm looking for that to transfer over and spill over, for that narrative to spill over into the cryptocurrency space from mainstream. We know crypto people have always been watching crypto. but we want the mainstream to get back on top of it. And if gold, which is about to break the all-time high, if it does break that all-time high, again, the narrative, in my opinion, can easily go from, hey, look at gold and silver and all these gains in the short term, and hey, Bitcoin has some of those fundamental narratives as well. And if Bitcoin breaks 10,500, then we can see some significant follow through. You can see this triple top, 10,500, 10,500, 10,400. We get over those levels. We're looking at 10,900 and then 12,300. The point being, things open up in terms of the amount of follow through we can see once we break 10,500. So I want to increase my exposure for that potential to take place over the next couple of months. So as far as Bitcoin is concerned in the short term, we've got a couple little hurdles to go. 97, 92, 10,000, and then 10,000, we'll just call it 10,540, because there's three levels that are very close to each other, and we're just going to choose the topmost of those three levels, and that's going back to October 2019, where we topped out. So that is the most important resistance. There's a couple others to get through before we get there, and what we want to see is a continued ramp up of this bull volume. So today, with 6.5 or 7 hours left, we are going to very likely see, and again, this is only on Coinbase here, but we're very likely to see another day of increasing bull volume, which is exactly what we want to see. The more, the better. And we are creating tons of space for a daily higher low to form once we do top out on this move. Worst case scenario, because we always want to prepare for both sides. What if I'm wrong? Worst case scenario is if we were to reject from 10,400 and break 8,800, which is our weekly higher low, because that would confirm a weekly downtrend, and that would confirm a monthly lower high, and then monthly consolidation. We would then have to look for a monthly higher low to form, and it would be a bit of an inverse head and shoulders setup, where this would be the left shoulder, here's our neckline, here's our head on the COVID dump, this would be our right neckline at a double top, and we would then have to form another monthly higher low to try and change that trend. So we have to be aware that that is a possibility. If we can't break 10,400 and we drop back down and break 8,800, and we're currently pretty much smack dab in the middle of those two levels. So we need more follow through, more volume, and we need, as much as we might not want, CNBC and mainstream media and all that, it's going to help. It's going to help the bulls if we get that. So that's what we want to see. We want to see Bitcoin starting to get some attention with percentage gains and starting to get some headlines and starting to get some CNBC coverage. So looking at the last video that we did, I pointed out the alert system here. Let me move my face. The alert system here for our TraderPro.com alert system. And I highlighted for what I'm looking for, which is for the alert to not work. Why would I be looking for that? Because the alerts have been on point for the last month. This is the super stack alert that was triggering oversold conditions with great accuracy and overbought conditions with great accuracy, leading to significant pullbacks and significant bounces every time it fired. So that shows us, okay, this super stack is fitting the current market conditions very well while we're in this tightening range. If we're going to see a breakout with follow through, and if we're going to see the market environment shift, we want to see the overbought signals stop getting follow through and stop being as accurate. So we had a setup right here where it fired and we did see a little pullback. Then we saw continuation. Look how similar this move here is to this move here. And the biggest difference, there's your dump and there's your breakout and continuation. That's notable to me. That shows me very clearly a great visual that this is a change in the market environment than what we've been seeing over the last month and a half to 2 months. So we go in and we tweak the criteria of what fires off these alerts based on the market environment, and we will probably shift now a little bit as to what signifies overbought conditions because we are seeing this shift. So that definitely stood out to me in terms of the follow through that we wanted to see for these bulls. The Bitcoin dominance chart is dropping still. Look at this setup where we just trade. We have a solid drop. We trade sideways. The daily 12 period exponential resistance acts as a bit of a cap. The 12 and 26 period can't really get over them. Another leg down, sideways trading. The EMAs, it's pretty much just sideways trading, waiting for the EMAs to drop down. We reject from the EMAs and we see another leg down. So it is clearly showing us that the Bears are still in control of this chart, which is a good sign for the altcoin bulls. And if we look at the weekly time frame, we can see, I don't like that lower wick, not really accurate, but 61.98 is a key level. And look at the lack of support after 61.98. So 61.98 is a key short-term level to be watching. What I would want to see if Bitcoin is going to break 10,500 is I want to see that marking this shift. Even if it's just a weekly bounce for a lower high, I would want to see that happen, because that would show me that the cryptocurrency space, everybody's watching that 10,500 level on Bitcoin and showing me that people piling back into Bitcoin for that bull break to ensure follow through. That's what I would want to personally see on a 10,500 break. It would be a bounce in this dominance chart. Again, even if it's just for a weekly lower high, I would want to see attention shift to Bitcoin on that key break, because it's a very critical level, and I would want to see recognition from the market as a whole to say, yeah, that's a pretty critical level. We want in on Bitcoin for that break. So that's something I'm watching for as well, keeping an eye on this chart, but certainly not going to dismiss the move that Ethereum has been making. So ETH has been on fire. And with my crypto exposure, it's BTC and ETH as far as my, no-touch positions. And I don't put in enough fundamental research to really go beyond that. That's really your beginner's basic starter pack, and that's what I'm sticking with. But ETH is leading the way in a huge way. Again, the volume is exactly what the bulls want to be seeing. And here we go heading towards 290. We already broke the weekly, so continuation on the weekly. And now it's 290. And 290 is the highest price that we have seen in a year. And if 290 breaks, we're looking at 318 and then 364. So ETH, significant move. And the ETH BTC chart had a nice tightening weekly range. It formed a little bull flag. We got a bull break. We had to be a little bit cautious because we didn't get that follow through, but we certainly got it now. So following through to break all of these resistance levels. This is the first weekly trend change since the 2017 run. That's notable. The first weekly trend change in 3 years as far as a very clear higher low and higher high and break of resistance. Let's go monthly time frame and zoom out a bit. So monthly time frame will still need to change this trend in order to see, well, you know what? You could call that a little monthly trend change back there. But either way, the most important resistance from now is 4165. And you can see what's after 4165? Very little. So that is a very key level. Still a long ways away, but we're shifting our focus to look up towards that level now that we're breaking this weekly resistance. If we had to pick a closer level on the weekly, 3487. But again, this is a great breakout, and it's a great sign for the ETH bulls. And if this chart stays bullish, the ETH bulls would love to see Bitcoin break 10,500, because that means ETH would be likely in the 300s, well into the 300s, if that were to take place. So ETH bulls in complete control, even just looking at the shorter term time frames. So when we have this kind of bull environment, we know our back burner trades, or our first blood trades, whatever you want to call them, where we look for our first 5-minute oversold conditions. So looking at ETH on this move, I know that if I'm looking for a day trade, I can be patiently watching for a first 5-minute oversold drop, knowing that at that point in time, we will just be looking for an hourly higher low to form. Great visual guide for the hourly 12 period exponential support. So first 5-minute oversold conditions we can be watching for a bounce, first hourly oversold conditions, and we know we have the zoom out game as our guide, where we're just going to be looking for an hourly higher low. If we lose the hourly uptrend, we zoom out to the 4-hour, and we look for a 4-hour higher low compared to 260. And then we'll zoom out if we lose the 4-hour uptrend, and we're going to look for a daily higher low where we have tons of space to work with. So the bulls are comfortably in the driver's seat for now, and it's just a question of how much can we ramp up this FOMO and hype in the cryptocurrency space. Can we get some of the precious metal FOMO love that has been taking place? And just for those who are not following the precious metals really quick, so here's the monthly time frame. Gold has been in full-on breakout mode. Certainly enjoyed some nice gold profits this year. And we're looking at 1921, the all-time high, which is currently about 1.5% away. And there's no resistance until that level, and the bulls are in complete control. And silver is nowhere near its all-time high, but the move over the last couple of days is certainly gaining attention as we've gone 15% in just a couple days. And if we look at the monthly long-term, again, nowhere near the all-time high, but a notable move. So we want to see that narrative shift pretty much the anti-dollar, anti-inflation, anti-Fed printing narrative that is being applied to gold. And you know CNBC and all these talking heads are explaining this is why the gold and silver market is breaking out right now, because of X, Y, and Z. And you can very easily move that X, Y, and Z right over to Bitcoin as well and have that same narrative apply. So that's what we want to see. Link. So Link had a significant pullback from its all-time high. So losing a little bit of its mojo, so to speak, a bit of its bull momentum. It is still in a daily uptrend. So this is our daily higher low now at 699, and anything under 890 is a daily lower high. And unless we see some notable bull volume increase, we're going to anticipate that's going to be the more likely scenario. If we start to see daily increasing bull volume, we could just go to a new all-time high. But in the absence of increasing bull volume, we're going to be watching for the potential of a tightening daily range. And losing the 4-hour uptrend would be the first indication that our daily lower high has been set compared to that 890 level. And it's a very similar chart to XTZ, so we'll do that next. Same thing, significant pullback, but still a daily uptrend. Bull volume is not increasing significantly enough for us to be looking at a V-shaped recovery to higher highs. If volume stays like this, we're just going to be looking for a lower high compared to 334 and a tightening daily range. And again, the 4-hour uptrend will be our guide as to when our daily lower high is being set. Very similar setups between those two names. ADA USDT is also tightening on the daily. I like this as a bit of an equilibrium. So we've got our high, low, lower high. I'm going to call that the higher low of 11.4. And now anything under 13.6 is just another lower high. So if we reject from 13.6, we're just going to be looking at a continued tightening range on this daily time frame. And the tighter the daily range, the more it tells us to, okay, start really paying attention, because we know that break is coming soon. So if I'm in cash and I'm waiting on this setup, I want to see one more lower high. I want to see it get as tight as possible, and it will be a volume spike that lets us know that the daily break is taking place. BNB, so similar in the regard that $19 is key resistance, and we've made, again, we had a significant pullback, but it kept the daily uptrend. And the question is, can we just V-shape to a higher high, or are we going to form a lower high compared to 19 and tighten up on the daily? 4-hour uptrend is our guide, and we have a short-term little support level at 1810. I would say if we break 1810 support, the odds are going to increase a good bit that we are setting a lower high compared to 19, and then the bulls would look for a daily higher low compared to 1654. So there's quite a few altcoins where the question for the next 2-3 days is, can we see continuation, or is a tightening daily range the most likely scenario? LTC has been a big time laggard. If we can clear 45.86, we'll clear the highest price that we've seen in about a month. But what I need to see to have attention shift to Litecoin bulls is this LTC BTC chart break this resistance of 49.82. So 49.82, and look at this range that we have been trading within for the last 3 months, essentially. That's a long time to be trading sideways. So we hit down, built a base of support here in the 4.4s, and now we must see these bulls break 4.651. If that break takes place, we're going to see probably the most life in the Litecoin bulls that we have seen in the last 5-6 months. So it's essentially needing to see that break take place for me to have any interest in what the US dollar pairing is doing. Because if this resistance doesn't break, then I know ETH and I know BTC and I know a ton of other coins are outperforming Litecoin, so why do I care? But if this resistance level breaks, again, it will be a momentum shift that will catch my attention, at least in the short term. So that's worth keeping an eye on as well. Checking back in on Bitcoin, 5-minute healthy consolidation, 5-minute EMA short-term support guide. And I think that's my rundown. Let's look at the chat and see what you all are saying. Happy to look at any other altcoins, a couple other altcoins, or answer any questions overall on the space as a whole. And again, let's just pull up SPY. Guess it doesn't want to go with SPY. There we go. So SPY today, just a pullback again. We're down 0.5%, but completely opposite direction for Bitcoin, which is a great sign. And what that tells me is one of two things. So in my opinion, the correlation we've been seeing to the S&P 500 and to SPY has been attributed to bots and algos being hooked up and obviously reading information between the two. So this change that's now taken place is telling me number one, either those bots and algos have been turned off, and the man behind the curtain that is running those bots and algos has shut it down, recognizing that it's probably not a good idea to fight the bull trend at the moment, or those bots are still active. It's just the dollar volume that's coming in for the bulls is offsetting those correlations. The number one reason you will break correlation, and this goes to stocks as well, the number one reason Apple will break a correlation with the S&P 500 or whatever name is an influx of volume, because that volume drowns out the action that the bots are seeing. And in the absence of that retail volume, the bots and algos volume is much more controlling of the price action. So it's one of those two events taking place, in my opinion. And regardless, we know bull volume is significant for Bitcoin in the short term. Can you talk about SPY correlation? Looks like we were on the same page without even reading the question. NEO and XLM. So NEO not breaking the high of yesterday. It's a little bit of a double top. And I always want to look at what the Bitcoin pairing is on these coins as well, especially if I'm not following them significantly, or I should say following them closely. So looking at this chart, I know anything on the weekly under 1324 is just a lower high, remaining in a tightening range. And I know bigger picture, anything under 1631 is just a monthly lower high. So there are a couple longer term resistance levels that would make me hesitate a little bit as far as choosing NEO over some other coin looking bullish, because right now we are not in a weekly uptrend. We would have to break 1324 to enter a weekly uptrend, and there's a ton of other Bitcoin pairing charts like ETH BTC that are in a weekly uptrend. So watching for the potential again of a tightening range if we cannot break 1324. So going back to the US dollar pairing, we're definitely breaking short-term resistance levels, and the weekly time frame has to break 1318. So it's looking more like Bitcoin in the sense that Bitcoin has not seen continuation yet. ETH easily seeing continuation. And at this point, we are still 15% plus below that weekly resistance. Bitcoin is 10% plus below its resistance, a little bit less than that at this point, 9%. So I would say that NEO has a lot of work to do, and it is one of the weaker names out of the altcoins that we've been focused on over the last couple of months. XLM. So XLM weekly breakout, very big difference. Daily time frame, have to be cautious of the head and shoulders here, where if we fail to break the high of 1077, and if we were then to drop down and break our most recent daily high or low of 932, that would confirm a daily downtrend, and that would confirm weekly consolidation is likely underway. So have to be cautious of that head and shoulders if we can't break 1077. So the most important levels, 1077 and 932. 4-hour uptrend, is it still intact? Yes. Losing that 4-hour uptrend would increase the odds that a daily right shoulder is forming. And again, we want to know what the XLM BTC week chart is doing, but I know it's bullish because of the weekly breakout that Bitcoin has not seen yet. So there's that big bull move, getting over the highest prices that we've seen in months. And again, look at the lack of resistance on this chart now that we cleared 928 and 951. There's really just nothing nearby. That's exactly what you want to see. You see ranges open up, you see percentage gains increase when ranges, or I should say when key levels break. Let's go to gold, and we were watching this for years because it was a 2-year-long tightening monthly pattern. And as soon as you clear 1366, 1375, and 1392, look at the range just open, wide open in terms of the percentage gains. And the gain that we have seen since that resistance break is way more significant than anything we've seen in the last 3 years. So that's what you want to see every coin doing. open up against those resistances. And if Bitcoin clears 10,500, it's similar in the sense of opening up its range. And it's a little bit of dollar volume goes a lot further as far as moving the prices when you see these key multiple tops of resistance break. Ranking the crypto in order of strength. So Link has been a lead bull. Blue Sky Breakout automatically puts you at the forefront. That's changed in the past week, but overall Link is definitely a top bull. ETH is definitely a top bull with that weekly ETH BTC tightening range breaking bullish. Those two are the top bulls in my opinion. ADA has gotten my attention recently because it has been standing out stronger. Again, any name that's Bitcoin pairing, BTC pairing, has seen weekly continuation already taking place, automatically goes towards the front of the line. VET was another name that we had been watching recently that was seeing some strength. Again, look at the weekly chart. Explosion. The weekly consolidation is healthy at this point. So what you would want to see, if you're going to see a really healthy crypto environment, is you want to see attention on ETH and attention on Link, and then have it shift and say, okay, well, we've seen weekly very healthy consolidation in VET, and now we're seeing funds go back to that coin. You want to see that rotation going on. And the S&P 500 on this entire COVID bounce has remained so strong because you see tech really strong, and then tech consolidates. And that rotation goes on where tech money goes to the financial sector and the healthcare sector. And that constant rotation keeps things strong. And you want to see that in the cryptocurrency space as a whole as well. You don't want to see everything drop at the same time. You want to see a few coins get attention and see a breakout. Then while they consolidate, a few names that have already been consolidating, see capital inflow, and they head back to their resistances. It's a game of musical chairs, and when that's going on and when that rotation is going on, the sector as a whole is its strongest because it shows you money isn't leaving crypto, money's just bouncing around in crypto, and that's when we see the market cap for the cryptocurrency space increase significantly. All right, I gotta run. I appreciate you guys all tuning in, guys and gals, and let's see how long we can keep this bull momentum up. Let's keep an eye out for those articles. We did get the bullish news about the US banks now having access to providing custody. So that's great news. Let's see if that leads to any ETFs. Let's see what that develops to down the road. And let's see if CNBC and all these talking heads perhaps shift a little bit of focus to the cryptocurrency space. Something I'm watching for. Have a good rest of your day and do good things.